Aurelia Gravefroth. The dust settled slow and thick on the road into Perdition's Grove, a town that knew its own name too well. It was on such an afternoon, the air heavy and still, that a woman appeared. She came on foot, a single suitcase dragging a plume of dust behind her like a tired comet. Her name was Aurelia Gravefroth, and she walked with the weary certainty of someone who had finally reached the end of a very long map. She stopped before the only building with a lit sign, a place called The Last Spoon, and looked not at the menu, but at the faces of the few old men sipping coffee on the porch. Their chatter died. The status quo, brittle and unchallenged for decades, had just been cracked by the quiet click of their heels on the wooden steps. By sundown, the suspicion was a low hum in the wires between houses. Who was she? Old man Henderson claimed he saw her suitcase was too new for a wanderer. Miss Eliza, who ran the boarding house, said the woman's hands were too soft for hard luck, yet her eyes held the depth of it. They watched her from behind curtains as she sat each evening in the same corner of The Last Spoon, not eating, just observing. A committee of the concerned, led by the stern grocer Mr. Gable, decided action was needed. "We look after our own here," Gable said, "and she ain't her own. We need to find out what she's after, what she's running for." It was young Tommy, the busboy with ears too big for his head, who overheard her talking low to the cook. She spoke not of her own past, but of theirs. She asked about the old Miller farm, now just a foundation choked with weeds. She mentioned the drought of '58, the year the river went dry and 3 families just left. Things nobody talked about. Her questions were like a needle, pulling at a thread the town had thought buried. Her presence wasn't an invasion, it was a mirror, and in it they began to see the ghostly outline of all they had chosen to forget, the quiet price of their closed-off peace. The town that split clean down the middle. Gable and his lot stood firm.
"She's digging up bones best left buried! She's a curse!"
he'd shout outside the post office. But others, like Widow Macready, whose son had left during the bad years, felt differently. "Maybe them bones need air," she'd counter softly. "Maybe we're the doomed ones for pretending hard times never happened." The argument spilled from kitchens onto the street. Friends ceased speaking. The Last Spoon became a battleground of scowls and muttered prayers, the very meals they ate feeling like declarations of war. The crisis came when a letter arrived for Gable, forwarded from a city archive, that was about his grandfather's land deed, a document tangled with the same history the stranger asked about. In his rage, he confronted her in the cafe, waving the paper. "You! This is your doing! Who are you?" Aurelia Gravefroth set her cup down. The room held its breath. "I am a scribe," she said, her voice clear and calm, "a collector of endings. I go to places like Perdition's Grove to record the final meals, the last stories of communities before they fade away. Your town is on my list." The secret was out. They weren't investigating her, she was documenting them. Silence fell, thick and suffocating. Gable pointed a trembling finger toward the door. "You get out. You take your doom and you leave." But Widow Macready stood up. "No," she said, her voice stronger than anyone had ever heard it. "She stays. I'll make her dinner myself. My boy's story. Someone should know it." One by one, others rose. The barber, the teacher, the mechanic, all who had lost something, all who wanted their history to have a witness. The confrontation wasn't with the stranger anymore, it was with themselves. Would they die silent or speak? Aurelia stayed. She did not bring doom, she brought reckoning. Meals at The Last Spoon became quieter, more intentional. People began talking, slowly at first, then in a flood. They spoke of failures and loves and losses. They brought her recipes and photographs and diaries. The community did not fade, it transformed. The change was irreversible. The weight of silence was replaced by the lighter, more fragile burden of memory. They were still Perdition's Grove, But now they understood their name, not as a sentence, but as a story. One that, against all odds, was still being written.